Yeah, yeah.
Now you can say.
No decisions were made.
Smile.
Just do it
Speak
Yeah,
up.
I do need to.
No decisions were made.
Thank you.
Where would you guys like these paid out of? Do you want them out of the EMS building account?
If it's in there, if we got it in there, I would tell you that's for sure.
I don't think it should be paid out of the building account.
It's $135 for the paint and $249.80 for the plywood.
We made that decision, remember, at the last meeting, that utilities. So I would say pay it out of courthouse general.
Okay.
Those executive sessions seem to be a waste of time because there's never a decision.
I agree.
Never.
I'll be grabbing a copy of one.
Definitely. Good morning. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
The first thing that I want to talk to you about are the 2014 transfers, budgeted transfers for equipment reserve and other special funds. Since the audit has finally been completed, I'm going to just pass those around. Each person, can you pass them on? Pass them, take one and pass one on. Thank you.
Should I give one to the attorney?
If there's one left over, we can lay them over there. I'm not exactly sure how many we're going to have a decision made today on these. I can't wait till the next meeting. As the Sorry, I didn't have these all split out for you.
Grade school.
Is there an extra copy available? I can keep one for me, but that's okay. I'll just borrow this one for now.
Let's stop.
Okay. So what I basically need you to look at is the 2014 general fund budgeted transfers. The other forms are basically just for your information to let you know where each of those funds, special funds are at. We probably won't touch on those, but just for your information on them. Okay, so we have 2014 transfers that were budgeted that haven't been made yet because we weren't sure how the general budget was going to end for the 2014 year. If you remember the audit budget amount that was released, I believe I wrote it on your sheet here on the top. That's what the auditors say we ended up as our budgeted balance left in 01.
That's a 278.
Yeah. Okay. So if you look at the very top part of the sheet, it says the budgeted transfers. These are the amounts that. Let me back up and tell you the history of how we've always handled equipment reserve transfers in the past until the county hit a budget and the lack of money issue for the last 3 years. But we've always made the transfers like the first within the first month or two of the new year. The money got put in there, that way it was there for them to use through the year. We quit doing that because we were having, one year when we did not have the cash or the budget balance for the general fund, the auditor made us transfer those back into the budgets because we can't transfer money we don't have. Okay, so we quit doing that and just doing them at the end of the year to wait to see what the audit says. If we had the money, we went ahead and did the transfers. If we didn't do the transfers. And what was it, about 3 years we have not done any transfers. Well, this year we are going to have a balance left, not enough to do all of the transfers, but a good share of them, or at least half of them, if you choose to do that. This is 2014, so it's not going to affect anything with our 2015 budget.
Yeah.
But I've got to have these done before I can close 2014 and open and then work on closing. There's two types of closures that I have to go through. There's a soft close, which means I've ended 2014, but we can still post audit adjustments and everything else into what we call a period 13. And that will affect that year's budgets and cash balances. Then I have to do a hard close on that period 13 in order to close 14, but I can't go on with closing 14 until that, or 15 until that is done, doing the soft close on 15. And if I can't do the soft close on 15, we cannot do anything at all in 2016 until they're done. That's why it's like being decided today. So I gotta have time to get these done and then the closing's done. Okay, so the one I do recommend that you absolutely do is the airport one, because they've already gone under in their capital improvement. And that 90,000 will put them back up. If you, that sheet is in there with those miscellaneous ones. But they're, I don't remember, it's 27 or 72,000 under. So they definitely need this 2014 transfer to stay on top of those payments that are going to be coming in for the work they've done. So I would recommend that one for sure. On this middle column, this is indicating where the auditor says their budget ended in 2014 for each department that we have a transfer for. So that might help you make your decision on whether they should get their transfer or not get their transfer. But we cannot transfer any more than this 278 figure.
I think we ought to just vote on the sheet as scheduled and allow you to do your transfers.
We don't have quite enough money to do all of it though, so I don't know which ones to do or not to.
There is not enough in 14 to do all of it, you say?
In 2014, this is the balance the auditor came up with for 2014, and this is the total amount that needs to be transferred just from the general fund. These other ones down here, underneath the other funds and budget transfers,
Okay.
that 200,000 was done already in December. We knew he was going to have the money, so we did that. Wasn't sure about the rural fire, if they were going to have enough to do that amount or not. They do, so I will go ahead and do that one. That does not affect the general fund either. And then the road and bridge special machinery, we discussed that with the auditors the last time they were here, and they have emailed me back and said we will go ahead and do that transfer. You said go ahead and do that one, so I will do that. This one is the one that's done by resolution, and you guys already signed the resolution to do that.
Yeah, probably better, because if we don't think we can give us no one, we got an
Well, I think we can approve the airport right away.
Yes, solid waste is what I was saying to Ed, because if we do try to acquire some land
for a trade, so we don't have to do any eminent domain. We need to make sure that our solid waste is very stable. Dispatch.
And I can
we need
say,
good raises.
like for mine, I would be willing to give that one up. For one, I've got enough in my budget, and for two, they started that new fund for the clerk and the treasurers from the register of deeds. These,
Okay.
that we can use for equipment, so I don't know that we would really need to do
Right.
those. Would you agree, Deb? Do you need your equipment reserve? in
I may need my
2014?
equipment reserve for election equipment.
Sheriff with the
Well, that's
acquisition of
not-
another vehicle.
That's not under the clerk, that's under elections.
Well, but if I have to, if I don't have enough money in elections to cover the new equipment, I may have to spend some out of my clerk's budget to cover that. So the cost hasn't been
Well,
determined.
they already, I mean, the auditors, even though there wasn't anything in equipment reserve for elections, the auditors apparently, I don't know if you talked to them or if
I did. I asked,
they read the minutes, but they went ahead and transferred 2,295 into
Mhm.
elections
Mhm.
that wasn't budgeted, which brought that to a zero.
Because I asked whatever was left over in the 2014 budget, if that could be moved into equipment reserve elections, and the board did approve
Yeah.
that. So I can start building a fund to purchase new election equipment.
Well, I guess it's their choice if they allow you to put your 1,000 into there or not.
Okay. What do you think? The sheriff would definitely.
The reason, he's got two vehicles coming, doesn't he?
Right, yeah.
And we budgeted for, I believe we budgeted in next year's budget for actual, out of that current money.
Oh, I grabbed the 2016 and then I
And
looked
the
at that.
computer,
now.
Huh?
if we do the computer, we might pull Ryan's computer out of that instead of something else.
Well, if we went ahead and programmed 50K for future land purchase,
Right.
that's 140K right there out of the 278,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say okay on the solid waste.
I agree.
Okay?
Yeah. And the sheriff, if we budgeted for the two vehicles, we may not have to worry about that, but.
No, I think we did budget that in next year's money for the vehicles.
You can take care of everything, part of it.
If you look,
Unless he has something else planned for that 10 grand that we're not aware of.
there it is. If you look at this sheet here, this is what's already in equipment reserve for each different department up above. That has the 2015 in there already. It does not show the 2014. So, I don't know if that will help you with your decision making. And then for 2016, you're looking for the sheriff, there was 53,000 scheduled to transfer in next year for the equipment reserve for the sheriff.
Okay.
Now, if that's gonna be in that, or if they've got a balance, I don't even remember that balance in there.
Negative 40.
If their bottom shows the total balance for that. Yeah, the auditors, we paid something for that 48,000 and they wouldn't allow it, so they took it out of. I don't know, that was an audit adjustment, I just had to show it that, so.
Okay. Okay, so definitely doing the airport and solid waste because we're gonna acquire land at some point. So where's that leave us at, Rodney?
Well, you can subtract 140,000 from 278, just with those two right there.
Gives you 138.
138,000 left.
Okay.
You can take care of everything on this list except for the next one, courthouse jet.
Uh,
What's that?
I think it was a buffer anyway.
Okay. Well, if Ed's right on that, did you hear what he said?
no,
Take everything we got except the courthouse jet, fine.
And just put what is left.
out of courthouse.
Into, use that for courthouse.
Yeah.
general.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one I
That
did.
would agree, right?
Now, onto that courthouse general, I know we're gonna have to look at what in the future, boiler replacement for this building, an elevator.
Elevator.
So we are gonna have to start recognizing the need
This year's, yeah.
to fund some funding in there. Okay, we can do it that way then.
Well, I bet it's still only be down 133.
Yeah, there'll still some go in there. So,
Right.
yeah, okay.
And I might check with the auditor if that should actually go under equipment reserve or capital outlay. Because if it's gonna be used for like improving the building, would that be capital? Those things should just make it be capital outlay, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Could be either one, I think.
Robin's happy too, so. Okay.
It would be nice to start building it back up again,
Yeah.
because we got down to absolutely zero and it's not good. Okay. Well, we'll get those taken care of.
So
And these are all for us to keep, right?
you're gonna do rural fire and
Yep.
road and bridge.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Takes care of that.
So, I'm going to take care of the bottom of my transactions. The next one I wanted to touch on is, and I didn't bring any transaction history for it, the prosecution fund. I know this has been discussed with you guys before, but I need to find out where we're at on that because I believe the way the statute reads that it's to be used for sheriff equipment. The
Yeah.
sheriff's department for equipment, and you cannot change that
Right.
for, just because you didn't know where else to pay the lawyers from.
We recognized that and we put a prosecution line in for the attorney. It showed up, the auditors placed it under other. But there is 5,000 for the attorney to use, so there is
Or
no.
where at,
Huh? In next year's budget.
but we're talking this year's budget.
Okay,
I
this
need
year's
to get
budget,
this
that,
account
I
back
think
out
we
of the
probably need to
negative.
back out some of the entries that are in there, don't
That's
you?
right, but I don't know where we're gonna pay it out of, because it can't be paid out of this.
Yeah. Do you have a ballpark figure on how much has to be backed out? I don't think it was that great, do you?
It's in the negative, but I don't know how
Yeah.
much was paid before it got into the negative.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't know.
it should have.
So we need to distinguish which ones are the sheriff's versus those
Right.
that the prosecuting attorney erroneously had. Okay? I think we have money in this year's budget in courthouse general to take care of that.
But we don't know the dollar
Huh?
amount. We don't know the dollar
No.
amount of it as of
No.
now, so we can't vote on it without dollar amount.
No, we can't.
Let me go ask the girls to do the transactions.
And
May I ask
tell me
what the discussion was with road and bridge budgets?
transfers, just doing transfers for 2014.
The carryover money
Uh-huh.
to the special improvement?
Right,
Okay.
so that she can get her transfers made, because the auditor has a 2014 budget done, so we need to do that, to do that stuff, so. Well, Dolores is in here, you might discuss with her changing that name, and I don't know how you want to do it, whether you want to change the name on that health trust account, or have her close that old corporate plan account, because that always brings confusion when you guys look at those reports. That Freedom Claims invoice is being paid, and when it prints out on your accounts payable warrant, it looks like it's being paid to the Cheyenne, well, it is being paid, it's being deposited into the Cheyenne County Health Trust Fund, but it's for payment of the Freedom Claims invoice. And so you might want to address that with Dolores while we're all sitting here so that we can get it cleaned up and maybe get started on the right foot come January 1st. So she had kept that Cheyenne County Health Trust there to pay all of those old corporate plan claims out of originally.
Oh, we've paid them all now? We still
Well, I
have
haven't heard about that
There's still
one.
the one outstanding.
I don't know what the status of that one claim is.
I still think that we need to go after corporate. That's,
Where we need to return.
I thought maybe she might be here by now.
while she's here, but now it's gonna be short-lived because we're about done.
Yeah. Don't forget it.
Oh, I didn't know Helen Dobbs was in here today, and I meant to try and get in here when she came in. I didn't know she was gonna talk about that micro loans. Is that what
She did some, yeah.
she?
She tried setting up a board with, where you talk to a banker and
Yeah, I
some other
talked to a
people
banker, I talked to
about forming a board.
Bryceland, and I talked to,
So are we getting close to maybe
We need
advertising
to-
for loans, or do you know?
she wanted to appoint two, and we were to appoint one commissioner and two. So there'd be 5 people on the board.
I'll just go on that. Because we're gonna, she told me that when I first found out about it, I visited with her, she didn't have a lot of details at that time. And
Yeah.
haven't been able to talk again, but she did inform me. It was either her or the gal from,
Northwest
CDBG.
Kansas.
Karina Cox.
yeah, told me that we will have to open up a separate checking account to track that with, once they start making payments. So like when the loans are made out and they make the payments, we have to have that in a separate checking account. So I just need to kind of be warned when that's getting ready to happen, so that I know.
Did you were talking about the corporate plan management, the account set up?
That account, that Cheyenne County Health Trust, we are actually paying the Freedom Claims invoice that comes in, and that's being deposited into that Cheyenne County Health Trust. And it's confusing when the board reads that AP register because it looks like it's being paid. Well, it is being deposited in there, but also if we do a transaction history, we stopped paying corporate plan management, and then all of a sudden we've started again. So on the clerk side of it, it looks like we're not paying that invoice because it's going into the Cheyenne County Health Trust. So we just, to get it clean as of January 1st, either we need to set up a different account in that old Cheyenne County Health Trust that you had, close it out and transfer the money into a Freedom Claims account, or rename it somehow so that we're truly paying Freedom Claims. Because right now, we're truly not, in our vendor history, we're not paying Freedom
It
Claims.
was called corporate plan when we had a corporate plan in, though.
Well, it was the Cheyenne County Health Trust when that bill was split, and that's where part of it went. So we just need to do some cleanup work on
But
that.
it's basically the same thing.
It might basically be the same thing, but on the reports are printing out, it's not showing that we're paying Freedom Claims. It's showing we're paying
We
this.
can't name the account Freedom Claims, though,
That's-
because we're not using their tax ID number. It has to be under our tax ID number.
But I'm saying, can we clean that account up somehow so that it shows, our reports show that we are truly paying the Freedom Claims invoice and it's being deposited into that Freedom Claims account?
I'd have to see the reports, and I guess I don't understand what it would make a difference.
Okay.
Thanks,
Because
Tom.
I've got all that history printed off, and I didn't have any problems figuring it out, so. Alright. Looks like the first several pages you need to just ignore the control numbers and receipts again. So if you want to get to what has actually been expensed, you'll have to go to page 10. Because we can have the expense for that actual fund. I'm thinking probably this watch system.
On
is
page 10?
Probably
Yeah.
the sheriff.
Mhm.
Mm. And it looks like everything else, well, it looks like page 10 is the only one.
Yeah.
Those transactions on there, it's just a total page. So, looks like everything that was expensed out was for, except for maybe that $500 back on June, that might have been the sheriff for the watch system.
So yes, cameras then?
They'd have to go back and look, that was
Okay.
June 15th, I think it was.
About
But
7,000.
it looks like the rest of it was for,
About 7,000, isn't it?
well, closer to 6,500.
Yeah.
It's 6,682.
So if I make a motion not to exceed 7,000.
There you go, that'll work.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we authorize the treasurer to reverse the transactions not to exceed $7,000. If something comes in at the last minute, you've got a little wiggle room.
Well, if it comes in, it shouldn't be paid out here
Okay.
anyway.
All right.
Hopefully
those-
they know that right now, but
Yeah.
it's not used for that. And that's typically got to come out of the courthouse general.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to do the rest of this in executive session.
How long do you
For
need?
financial and non-electrical. Probably 15 minutes.
Come back in. Come back in